Should we go on to some Farnaby?
Farnaby, yeah. Now we're all back on stuff.
Never mind. Oh yeah, one of those. Just exploded.
First casualty.
We usually have a few of those explode on this gate. They're very old. There's more if you need.
They were a mess in
Thanks.
the bag. The bag has them broken away.
So about looking at that once a year. Let's do the faster moving stuff.
Faster moving things, trying to make them up. Toy.
So,
Now,
toy, yeah.
Pete, can you go to the microphone before we play the new Sabu and see if anybody in the audience can tell us what a Sabu is?
Yeah. First, I want to see if anybody in the quintet can tell me what a
I don't know.
You don't?
Oh, do you, Fred?
It's an East Indian boar.
Is it a
Lady?
toy?
You're making it up.
Yes, I am.
So a toy with repeats?
It would be.
Toy. Oh.
There's just one, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to the top.
No.
No.
Repeats.
Go to. There it is. Got it.
17 to near the end.
Thank you. Okay, got it.
Nice glasses.
Richard got it.
Fresh morning tonguing.
All downhill from here.
Yeah, so you had your coffee this morning.
Yes. Actually, while we're there, do you want to play Daphne?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
4 or 2? I don't know these very well. 4.
4 and no repeats.
Oh, Daphne? Oh, okay.
Okay.
No repeats?
There are none. Are there?
No.
What's that? Shall I?
Sure.
In a moment, let's do Sahu and then take a 2-minute break. 'Cause they're gonna-
Let's do what? Sorry?
The new Sahu, the last one in this set.
Oh, thank you.
We don't play anything in the service here.
And they tell me it's going to be pretty similar to usual, so I think we'll do our regular routine.
Oh, I had one of those when I was at NEC.
Yeah, I had one years ago.
I'm grabbing that side. Which one? That's John. I'm here. You got any?
Good morning, everyone. I've just wanted to give you a 4-minute warning. The Prize Day ceremony will begin in 4 minutes.
You're all set.
Kids have big entrances too, like champagne poppers, and so they're planning all sorts of things. Yeah. Yeah. So Lydia's roommate is going to Northeastern School, coming in with some festival. Sure, the festival. Yeah. Just one. At least that's what's planned. You know, we'll have stuff. It's good.
All right, so get started in a minute. Just I will be introducing everybody on stage. If you want to give a wave, it's up to you. Okay? Just so you know. Some of you are veterans, some of you are just
I'll just do whatever bells are you.
Okay. 1 minute. 1 minute till we start.
Oh, yeah, a few times, yeah. So I will do most of it, but I'll politely step out of the way. Let's give kids time. Love it.
Everybody ready?
Yep. All right, we're sitting.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and join me in welcoming Brooks School's faculty. When in doubt, keep clapping. Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2021. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, the faculty, the staff, the student body, and the class of 2021, it is my pleasure to welcome parents, guardians, grandparents, family members, friends, alumni, and alumni to our 90th Prize Day. It is so good to be with you today. We are live streaming this event to many who are watching from home. With that in mind, I want to remind everyone to turn off or silent all cell phones in order to keep them quiet during the ceremony. In addition, if you are standing at the rear of the tent or are near any of the speakers that are part of the live stream, we would appreciate you taking any conversation above a whisper to a distance far enough away so that we will not hear you here or at home for those watching online. And as those of us on campus enjoy this wonderful day, please take a moment and note the nearest way out of the tent in the unlikely event of an emergency. We're going to be fine, but just wanted to say it. Finally, there will be a luncheon following today's Prize Day ceremony in the Wilder Dining Hall, and we hope you all will be able to join us. Before making some introductions, I'd like to begin with our land acknowledgement. At Brooks School, we live and learn on land once of the Pennacook people, and we acknowledge their enduring presence. Thank you. I'm pleased to have company on stage this morning. Stephen R. Gorham, class of 1985, president of the Board of Trustees. His son, Oliver Gorham, graduated from Brooks in 2017. His daughter, Bridget Gorham, will graduate from Brooks today. Mr. Gorham. John R. Barker, class of 1987, vice president of the Board of Trustees. His daughter, Lydia Barker, will graduate from Brooks today. His daughter, Eliza Barker, is in the class of 2023. Mr. Barker. Nancy C. Ferry, trustee. Her son, Riker Ferry, will graduate from Brooks today. Mrs. Ferry. Belisario A. Rosas, trustee. His daughter, Daniela Rosas, and his son, Andres Rosas, will graduate from Brooks today. His daughter, Carolina Rosas, graduated from Brooks in 2015. Mr. Rosas. And finally, Roberta L. Crump Burbank, 36-year veteran of this school's faculty. Mrs. Crump Burbank. To parents of today's graduates, for the second and final time in my life, I am one of you today. I continue to find that hard to believe, and the reality of being 1 year older than the mean and median age of all Brooks School parents every year does not feel possible. I think part of the reason I feel this way centers on having spent my whole working life at this magnificent school and the fact that our students are always the same age. This keeps us young at heart, on our toes all the time, and not really paying attention to the gray hair that has overwhelmed my head through these years. Until you look at a picture with your graduating child and wonder, is that really me? I know some of you are in the same shoes that Kim and I occupy today, attending a Brooks School Prize Day with a youngest child ready to move on to college and exciting next steps in life. As parents, I do appreciate that this day is supposed to fill us with pride, and like you, I am bursting with good feeling about what our daughter has achieved and even envy when it comes to what is in front of her. It's an incredibly exciting time in her life. And I am filled with gratitude for what the other 93 members of this graduating class, your children, have added to her life. It's hard to imagine anything better, and my appreciation for that will hold for all my years. Yet I would be far less than completely forthright if I were to suggest that all I feel today when wearing my parent hat is joy. When our older daughter graduated, I remarked on this occasion that I knew she was ready to go, but it was an open question about whether I was ready to let her go. In my never-ending challenge to try to be in the present and not somewhere in the past or future, I've been wrestling with the reality of my soon-to-be permanent empty nester status. Frankly, I'm a bit stunned to be on the precipice of that phase in my life. I know it will be a gradual transition, and that all time and connection with our children will not go away. But a selfish side of me is wondering, who is taking care of me today? And with both of our children in college and out of our home more often than not, I think the game could be up. And Kim may wonder, am I stuck with this guy as the only other human in my home? Our free-spirited pandemic dog Truman might be my only hope at distracting her from that thought. I'm not sure if any of this rings familiar for those of you who are parents of a member of the class of 2021, whether this is a youngest, oldest, or middle child. But I do know all of you have been through the same pandemic our school, our students, and your children have been through. While much of it feels like a blur when I retreat to the past and think about these last 15 months, the time Kim and I have had with our children, even when we were not their first choice of people they wanted to quarantine with, was a gift. The meals, the walks, the TV shows, the time. I've been so grateful to have them around, and the prospect of them moving forward in their lives post-pandemic, and as they should, leaves me with mixed feelings. I'm excited for her, but maybe a bit less for me. Under typical circumstances, we ask parents to trust us with the most important and precious thing in your life, your children. This year, we asked for much more than that, and you delivered again and again. As you know well, we basically ran school a few weeks at a time, pivoting regularly and not giving you a lot of notice. I've never answered, "I don't know," to fair and reasonable questions more than I have in the past year. Yet you stuck with us. You allowed your day student child to come live on campus. You partnered with us through the maze of a whole new vocabulary: virtual, in person, concurrent, blended, asynchronous, synchronous, and hybrid modes. You supported teams that didn't have an opportunity to compete against other schools. You attended online shows and performances, more Zooms than any of us would care to recall, and you thanked us meaningfully and profusely in ways large and small that were sustaining. In some, we don't get here without all of you believing in the school, believing in your children, and taking a leap of faith in an extraordinary time. That you did means more to us than we will ever be able to convey. So whatever it is that you are feeling at this particular inflection point in your life, please know that you have done well. This group of 94 young people graduating today are evidence in support of my claim. The gifts, talents, and passions in this group are a reflection of all of you. And it has been such an inspiration to know them as we have. Under as trying a set of circumstances as our school has ever faced, you gave us the gift of your trust. We have never taken that for granted, and we are grateful for the opportunities your belief in Brooks allowed us to realize. With all of this in mind, and profound gratitude in our hearts, I ask all of you to join me in thanking the parents and guardians of the class of 2021. Thank you. And now some thoughts about the school's faculty. The first time I ever thought about being a teacher was after I declared my major at the end of my sophomore year of my fairly undistinguished college career. On what was mostly a whim, I signed up to be a government major and history minor. I got back to my dormitory and was talking with a few friends, and one of them asked me, "What are you going to do in life as a government major?" I hadn't thought about that question. Maybe a lawyer? Then I heard that would mean 3 more years of full-time school, not what I had in mind. I panicked and ran back to what I think was the registrar's office and changed course. I was going to major in history and minor in government. That way, I could teach history if all else failed. I was emerging as at least a competent history student, and how hard could teaching be? 1 year later, between my junior and senior year in college, I had a few people in my life who were encouraging me to consider looking for a position in a boarding school. I had not gone to boarding school or independent school, but my mother, who is here today, managed to get me a meeting with the headmaster of the school she attended years ago. I dutifully made the trip to visit with him and talk about what it might be like to be a faculty member at a school like this one. I don't remember much about the conversation, but I do remember him asking me a question about teachers in my life. As I was preparing to leave, he said, "Have you ever thanked the teachers who made the biggest difference in your life?" I thought about the question for a few seconds, determined that I had only done a mediocre job of that at best. And the headmaster told me to keep that in mind. As I drove home, I thought of Larry Robinson, a teacher I had more than once through my middle and high school years, and why he had stayed in my heart and head to that point and to this very day. He was a great classroom teacher, fun, engaging, innovative, and as far as I could tell, in total command of the subject matter, although I know now that he probably wasn't. Yet his real gift was his ability to connect in a way that made me feel like I mattered, in a way that left me certain he cared about me. I don't believe he tried to do this in any kind of overt or intentional way. He just did it by always showing up, by being available for his students, by pulling for his students, and by giving so much to students without thought of getting all that much back, certainly not from the likes of me. When I think about my colleagues at Brooks in general, and during this pandemic-altered year in particular, I am astounded by how teachers, coaches, advisors, club leaders, and dormitory parents, often all wrapped into one, were precisely what Larry Robinson was for me, except they did it over screens, through masks and plexiglass, and from all sorts of distances. Our faculty taught virtually, concurrently, in person, with cameras and microphones, in skill sessions, and one-on-one. Zoom and Google Meet and tents and physically distanced classrooms were the spaces and places where we found one another along the way. We were all novices, experimenting with this and that, and just doing the best we could for our students, which proved to be so much more than good enough. To teach is to take a risk, to put oneself out there, to be vulnerable, to be imperfect in front of others, to make mistakes in the pursuit of inspiring students to learn and grow. It takes courage to teach under ordinary circumstances. To do so in the midst of a global pandemic, with familiar routines and rhythms temporarily out of reach, has been nothing short of a Herculean feat. At the end of what I believe has been as challenging a year as any in this school's history, there is zero chance we hold together and make it to this day without our faculty's commitment to forging and furthering connections that have sustained us through the year. I knew so little about what it would take to be a teacher when I was running back to the registrar's office to change my major. And I'm reminded of that by colleagues who generously and selflessly give time and talent to their students every day without thought of reward. Well, I'm not a particularly avid reader of poetry. Virginia Satir's Making Contact resonates with me when I think about what our faculty do so well and so routinely with all students within their reach. It reads, and I quote, "I believe the greatest gift I can conceive of having from anyone is to be seen by them, heard by them, to be understood and touched by them. The greatest gift I can give is to see, hear, understand, and to touch another person. When this is done, I feel contact has been made," end quote. I've learned a lot since casually choosing a major and visiting with a sitting headmaster about life in boarding school. I now know full well how hard teaching can be, and finished this year in awe of colleagues who found their way in the dark to connection and contact with all of our students, and certainly these 94 members of the class of 2021 in front of me. I know beyond a shadow of doubt that as each of them moves on to next steps in their lives, they will do so with the adults seated to my left in their heads and hearts permanently. I know the gifts of seeing, hearing, understanding, and knowing one another during our time together have been traded freely, and that leaves my heart full on this Prize Day morning. So in a year that called them to carry more weight than ever before, I ask that all of you who are not members of the Brooks School faculty join me in thanking those who are for all they have done to make and deepen contact with each and every member of the class of 2021. Thank you. And now we have 3 faculty honors to bestow. I will start with the Reverend George F. Vaught Prize. The Reverend George F. Vaught Prize, given by the Sededicati family and awarded by the head of school to honor a member of the faculty who in their first few years has made special contributions to the school and exhibited notable professional growth. This year's George F. Vaught Prize goes to Tess Margaret O'Brien. When I was appointed head of school 14 years ago this fall, one of the first orders of business was to replace myself as dean of faculty. We searched far and wide, interviewed 8 candidates, and found our way to what I believe is one of the greatest hires Brooks School has ever made. I was on the younger end of new heads of school back in 2008, and there was a sensible desire to add an administrator with experience and wisdom acquired through years of working in boarding schools. Someone who could be a voice and presence in faculty life that a younger head of school could not be. Little did we know how much more than that we would get. I was told by an older colleague early in my tenure as dean of faculty that a big part of the job is serving as pastor to the faculty. This work is a life, and as such, the dean of faculty is tasked with working to support whole people who are much more than any single part of their defined job description. For the first 8 years of his life at Brooks, We were the beneficiaries of his passion for strengthening the faculty and helping teachers find deeper fulfillment in the limitless possibilities we have with our students. He was a substantial upgrade over the guy he replaced. Throughout his long career in boarding school education, he's always been a truly exceptional English teacher. He was that here during his years as Dean of Faculty. And when an opportunity to pivot in the direction of finishing his career at Brooks as a full-time English teacher emerged 5 years ago, he made that move, and his students will attest to the profound and everlasting impact time spent in his classroom will have on them for the rest of their lives. From my seat, I knew the school and I would be getting an exceptional Dean of Faculty when I called to offer him the position almost 14 years ago. I didn't know I would be getting a colleague who I consider to be the quintessential school person, someone who has done it all and done it all so well. I didn't know I was hiring someone I would come to see as a role model for how to give to and draw from this life in all the right ways. And for all of that, I will be forever grateful. He has spent over 40 years in independent school education, beginning in Mississippi after his years at Bates College, then 11 years at Avon Old Farm School in Connecticut, followed by 14 years at Western Reserve Academy in Ohio, and now 13 years here at Brooks School in North Andover, Massachusetts. Today, we enjoy the privilege his previous schools never had, and that is to thank him for a career and life full of purpose and service to others. So before he moves on to Maine to be the finest docent the Maine Maritime Museum will ever have, and the greatest sea kayaking guide sea kayakers will ever follow, it is my honor, with all the schools that have drawn from his many gifts in mind, to make John H. Hale Faculty Emeritus and to invite him forward to receive a small gift from the school and the sort of thanks from all of us he so richly deserves. Mr. Hale. I have a vivid memory of meeting this colleague for the first time when he visited campus to interview for a full-time position in our science department at some point in the winter of the 2000-2001 school year. He was already a highly accomplished teacher with rave reviews from those who worked with him at Lawrenceville School and Haverford School, respectively. And while I believe he was interviewing for a chemistry position, the truth is there isn't anything he couldn't teach and teach well. He's that good. On that interview day, my office was located in what is now the first floor of Merriman Dormitory. I came around the corner, and this colleague of what has now been 20 years was sitting, waiting, and ready to go. It didn't take long for us to determine what he would add to our science department, but I don't know that we knew his reach would be as far and wide as it has been for 2 decades. Along the way, he has done it all. Ask a football or girls lacrosse player about his inspiring words before games and his total support of them. Ask a Peabody House resident about the tone he set on an annual basis while wearing his dormitory parent hat. Ask a winter term student about whose courses each January were among the most inventive and interesting. Ask any student what it is like to hear him speak in chapel, sing in chapel, and wear all of his feeling and emotion on his sleeves in such generous and powerful ways. Ask his students what it is like to be in his classroom when he is really on a roll. There is nothing quite like it. His passion
energy, booming voice, and second-to-none command of the subject matter is mesmerizing and captivating. I remember visiting his classroom in my capacity as dean of faculty and coming away thinking, that's what great teaching looks and feels like. Our lives have run concurrently in many ways. We are about the same age. We've worked together at Brooks from our early 30s to our early 50s. We have a lot more gray hair now than we did back then. I have a lot more than him. Our children have known the joys, wonders, and challenges of growing up on a school campus with a parent on the faculty. We both have spouses who give new meaning to the term better half. And I've always felt that he can be a tough read until you hear him in chapel, or a locker room, or a dormitory putting his heart and soul on full display. I think the reason I have clear memory of first seeing him seated in the Merriman hallway the day of his interview is that the really great ones stay with you. It is important to me today to make clear to him that he is and has been one of the really great ones. We have had him for 20 extraordinary years that have mattered deeply to him and to all who have been so fortunate to have him in their Brooks School life. As we wish him the very best as he moves on, it is my honor and privilege to make Randall A. Hesse Faculty Emeritus and invite him to the stage to receive a small gift from the school and the sort of thanks reserved for the few like him. Mr. Hesse. And now some words for the class of 2021. I've been reading stories over the past few weeks that have revealed the challenge commencement speakers all across the country have felt when trying to land on the right message at the end of this very different year we've all experienced. What I know is that on March 7th of last year, 15 months ago tomorrow, we all headed into spring vacation thinking we would be back here in less than 3 weeks. As we know all too well, no one returned for 6 months. And this class of 2021 embarked on a sixth form year unlike any in Brooks School's history. We had no idea how this year was all going to go when we first gathered on screens on Monday morning, August 31st, to get school started, or 10 days later when we administered the first of thousands of COVID tests, put on our masks, and did our best to keep the year intact. Thus, it might not surprise you to know that I, too, have felt challenged in trying to land on the right message for this group of 94 young people on the verge of exciting next steps in their lives. I suppose if I am limited to one thing or feeling or takeaway I want them to go forth with today, it is that they know in no uncertain terms how proud we are of them, how impressed we are by them, how vital they have been to seeing their school through a previously unimaginable set of circumstances. In the past, I have referenced a time earlier in my career when I was at a conference, and the speaker asked the audience what ingredient was most important to having a great school. A few in the crowd offered answers that touched on critical aspects of great schools: curriculum, teachers, facilities, leaders, values, all essential underpinnings of making mission-driven work reachable. Yet it was the answer, great students, that earned an enthusiastic nod from the speaker. Great students, he remarked, are the most important ingredient of a great school. And if that's the case, as I believe it is, it then stands to reason that great older students, experienced students, and students who care enough to challenge their school to be better still are the most important ingredient of all. I cannot overstate the degree to which this class of 2021 carried their school in these ways this year. They did this on campus. They did this on screens. They did this all over the world. They did this by showing up for one another, by supporting one another, by fighting through masks and distance to be with one another because it mattered deeply to them. They reminded us on a daily basis of how important close relationships and making real contact are to having a great school. The speaker never offered a particular definition of what makes a great student. He left that open for all of us to define in our own way. I've never felt that being a great student is about any one thing in particular. It's about more than their academic, athletic, or artistic prowess. It's certainly not about their standardized test scores. It's not about where they came to us from or where they are headed from here. It's about something that is increasingly hard for young people who are pulled in so many directions all the time, and that is being present and committed to giving at least as much to your community as you draw from it. I believe we are graduating 94 great students today because they have not treated this experience as a portal, beaming them from what they were doing before to what they will do next. They were fully here while they were here, if that makes sense. And in a year when so much of what was familiar and important to us was not within our reach, in a year when they had to give up so much in so many different ways to be here, physically or virtually or both, it was their determination to have the year they wanted and needed that carried the day. This class of 2021 gave a great deal more to their community than they took from it at a time when we needed that more than ever. COVID-19 was no match for this lot. These soon-to-be graduates willed us in the direction of the familiar in important ways that kept us connected to who we are. They pushed us to reach beyond the familiar and comfortable in order to make our school more accessible to all. They held their school together and raised its consciousness about what must be better all at once. That's not easy to do, and they did so beautifully. Our school's mission calls us to provide the most meaningful educational experience our students will have in their lives. Our success at realizing this mission with each of them will be known only to them and only over time. It is a time-release proposition. As they move on today, however, it is important that they know they mattered now and always, that they made a difference, that they are leaving their school better than they found it, that their example will stay with those of us who continue, that we will forever be proud of what they have done. It has been an honor and a privilege to have traveled this distance with them. Before closing, I'd like to share some moments, some memories, and a small part of what surfaces when I think about this class of 2021 and the many ways they have touched one another's lives, the school's life and mine as well. Needless to say, there is never enough time to capture it all, but so much of what I have in heart and mind applies to so many of them. I remember sitting under the tent on this general location early in the fall writing a trustee report and looking out at the greatest boarding school backyard in all the world, this one, and seeing so many of them playing and enjoying one another on their campus for the first time in 6 months. Pure joy. Straight through this morning, he is the most conscientious keeper of Brook School flags of all time. Many thanks to him. A group of them are as fine a collection of sixth form boys soccer players we have ever had. I know of what I speak, and that is no small compliment. I took a picture of 3 of them skating on the pond on fresh ice by the north entrance in late January. Just fun and free and far away from the pandemic. I saw a group of them walking down Main Street near 10 p.m. one night this spring, and their hair was wet. Could they have been swimming in the lake? No, that's not allowed. So many of them dazzled us on stage with singing, dancing, and acting, and this year on screens as well. My winter term course with many of them just before the pandemic settled in, and just in time to appreciate what a super group they all were. This spring's amazing art show, with so many exquisite pieces created over the course of the year, here and at home, in what I would call the most impressive student art show I've ever seen. She is among the best teammates and mentors to younger players we've ever had. What a mix of talent, spirit, and energy on fields and rinks. The steady stream of peer advisor emails from them through the year, offering support and encouraging words, they mattered. His email about a friend he cared deeply about that said as much about his character as it did anything else. He sent this email last spring, and I quote, "As all of my friends from public school are happy that they have a break from normal class, I find myself in the opposite situation, as I'm sad that I cannot return to my second home. I hope I will be able to see you and be back on campus before the end of the school year. Thank you again, not just for keeping us updated, but giving me the opportunity to be at Brooks. It has truly changed my life." The group of them heading to crew practice in the very early morning hours when I'm walking my dogs, and so clearly looking forward to it and ready to go. A series of chapel talks and oratory talks that were personal and powerful and determined to help our school look at the range of experiences students have on our campus with greater clarity than ever before. If there's been a better girls squash player in our school's history, I'm not sure who that person is. What an amazing talent we will follow closely as her college career begins. Their emails wishing me a happy 25th birthday last year, when I was turning the inverse of that number. Another that added, and I quote, "You don't look a day over 52. Nice. I didn't see it, but I'm told he hit the first Brooks School over the fence, touch them all, home run this spring. A majestic shot to left center field. It might still be going. To me, this roommate pair have formed as impressive and deep, and I dare say mission-driven bond as any pair I have encountered in 31 years at Brooks. It has been all we hoped for. They were never on campus this year, attended school in the middle of the night all year long. And if any of us were looking for ways to put our own challenges in perspective, we needed to look no further than them. Talk about resilience. Her oratory talk about her grandparents that revealed her old soul, wisdom well beyond her years, and a relationship anyone listening had to envy. Her distinct sense of humor that had us laughing uncontrollably at last year's Wilder Speaking Prize contest. She is still the reigning champion. His video game night earlier in the year and drone flying mastery earlier in his career were both firsts for me. Two of many ways he shared his talents and passions with his school in ways that made our lives better. His character and competitive grit was absolute. He plays the right way and could be on any team of mine. The grace and warm welcome I received when visiting with them and their families in Seoul. A conversation I had with her and her brother about ways Brooks needed to be better at reaching and including the full breadth of our community, thoughtful, sincere, and impactful. His emails about paranoia, and his emails about anything, really. My favorite was a follow-up to his bodyguard service, which, rumor has it, was all show and no substance. Here's the quote. "Because of high demand, I am also looking for bodyguards to join my firm. I will be doing a rigorous interview process to make sure applicants are fit for the job. Respond if interested, and remember, your target has a bodyguard. Do you?" Jack, founder and CEO of Big Body Protection. And perhaps my favorite email of all emails I received from members of the class of 2021, sent way back at the beginning of his fourth form year, and in response to my having wished him a happy birthday. He wrote simply, and I quote, "Thanks, Pack Daddy." There is much more, of course. And as I made my way through the community directory and all 94 of their faces, I was amazed at how many times I thought of their humility, their inclination to share and give, their curiosity, their morality, their selflessness, their example to younger students, their courage, their kindness, their work ethic, their character, and their resilience. There are so many very good friends in this class of 2021, and my hope is that the friendships born here and the time they spent here will help sustain them for the rest of their lives. In a charged and challenging year full of opportunity and possibility for finding our way to the better world we all yearn for, I'd like to close with an excerpt from a Seamus Heaney poem that President Biden has drawn from many times. My understanding is that Heaney was inspired to write the poem in the early 1990s when apartheid was collapsing in South Africa and Nelson Mandela was freed after more than 27 years in prison. It is called The Cure at Troy. Human beings suffer. They torture one another. They get hurt and get hard. History says, don't hope on this side of the grave. But then, once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that a farther shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracles and cures and healing wells. If there's fire on the mountain or lightning and storm, and a God speaks from the sky, that means someone is hearing the outcry and birth cry of new life at its term. It means once in a lifetime that justice can rise up and hope and history rhyme. Congratulations, good luck, and Godspeed. And now, it is my privilege and honor to introduce the class of 2021 speaker, Matthew James Mulvey.
Good morning. So first of all, I got to thank Mr. Packard, all the employees and faculty here for working so hard this whole year to make it as good as it was for all of us. And thank you to my fellow graduates here today for allowing me to be this year's speaker. It is incredibly humbling for me, and I most certainly have not taken this opportunity for granted. It's an honor and privilege for me to speak on this day and to celebrate all of you. So as I was writing this, I was very overwhelmed because there were numerous directions that I could have taken this speech. It's both a good thing and a bad thing because the last 15 months have been nothing, if not crazy, so I had no shortage of anything to talk about. But while I would be able to, given how much I could discuss, I can't just stand up here and talk for 9 hours. That's not something that I will be doing. It's bad for everyone, and it's also very boring. It's hot out too, so I don't want to keep you guys too long. So I had to figure out a way to narrow this whole thing down and keep it relatively short while making it meaningful for all of you. Of course, COVID, political divide and unrest, civil conflict, protesting, violence, specifically racially charged violence, and loss, are all topics that have incredible depth, as they have all been the cornerstones of the human experience since last March. And while on the surface, these things have been far from outstanding, their combination has served as an arena for our generation to overcome adversity and grow into better people. I cannot give all these topics the time that they may warrant, However, there are common denominators that mainly lie in the fact that we all have been forced to adapt and grow through these experiences. It's been said and widely accepted that high school kids are a group of people who have been medically far less impacted by the coronavirus itself than many other groups of people. And yet, we have been greatly affected by the consequences of the pandemic. While adults lost their jobs, homes, and in the most tragic cases, family members or even their own lives due to the virus, kids were impacted in ways that are much more difficult to quantify. The long-term effects of being isolated, away from school and our friends, away from activities and sports, having no choice but to be glued to our phones and televisions even more than we already were, won't be understood for a long time. But there are immediate effects that we feel right now, and they are glaring. I think it's safe to say that most of us have experienced an increase in things like anxiety, stress, and even sadness since last March. High school kids are volatile by nature, but the COVID lockdowns and isolation only exacerbated the instability of our already unbalanced emotions. We've seen our own mental health decline significantly, and it has been really hard to watch that same decline in our friends as well. This class of 2021 has undergone things that very few, if any, graduating class in Brooks or high school history in general have ever gone through. But I've been fortunate enough to be a part of this class for the last 3 years, and while it hasn't been easy for anyone, it has been made clear to me and anybody watching that this class is made up of so many incredible people. People who are ready to take on any challenge that the world throws at them, and who possess a range of impressive talents and abilities that will help us go out and make a positive difference in whatever communities we journey to next, just as we all have here at Brooks. Brooks has allowed for distinctive and intricate stories to be interwoven to create a beautiful portrait that comprises all of our individual experiences and skills. This community is shaped by the people who make it up. People who can combine colors and fabric to make beautiful artwork in the form of paintings, illustrations, or even clothes. People who can quintessentially capture our most meaningful moments on a camera. People who can make us question our own purpose and identity through writing exceptional things like senior speeches, poetry, and even our very own Brooks publications. People who can take dormant words on a script and enliven them into an inspiring and captivating performance on stage. People who can solve any equation known to mankind in the classroom. People who dominate on the athletic fields. People who fight for what they believe in and who have the courage to speak up and stand their ground, regardless of what others may think. People who have overcome incredible personal struggles and defied the odds to personify the values of ambition, determination, and persistence. And generally, people who are funny, kind, caring, supportive, and who each have a unique story to share with the world. And there are as many stories here as there are graduates sitting here today, because we are all truly unique. We all have different lived experiences, and we even have different perspectives on our time at Brooks. But this is a place where we have undoubtedly been able to learn from one another, despite our differences. It has never been more important for us as we take this unofficial and yet very real step into the real world as high school graduates to celebrate these unique qualities in others, but to also value them in ourselves. We need to believe in who we are. The world needs confident people who can think for themselves now more than it ever has. Confidence is very hard to come by these days, especially with everything that has happened to us over the last 15 months. It is easy for us to make excuses and stop trying, and for us to even feel hopeless. But it is critical that we look within ourselves and we feel good about who we are, what we've accomplished, what we've overcome, and the quality of our character. Nobody has ever gone through great challenges or achieved their goals by being down on themselves or having a lack of confidence in their capabilities. On a day like today, you all should feel extraordinarily proud of yourselves. Take time to reflect and reminisce on your own individual journeys and the afflictions that you have all successfully defeated. I'm not just talking about our graduates, I'm talking to parents and families as well, because we've all made it through this together. But look, parents, chances are we are going to make a few mistakes down the road and we're going to make you upset. And there'll be plenty of times for you to teach us life lessons and be mad at us. But today, remind yourselves that your kids have accomplished a great deal and have overcome a lot in their lives, and be proud of who you have raised. All of the families here come from countless different backgrounds, much like the graduates here today, of course. But all of you have one thing in common. You have all played an invaluable role in raising great kids that have impacted my life, this school, and are equipped with the necessary tools to make a positive impact on our world. And making a positive impact on our world doesn't even have to do with inventing something, curing a disease, or successfully starting a nonprofit organization. Those are all fantastic, and eventually those can be achieved by us. But for us as high school graduates, right now, our avenue for influence is a lot easier to find. The world becomes better when its citizens constantly strive to be the best versions of themselves each and every day. When we consistently aim to be better and live with conviction, we not only improve as people ourselves, but we can inspire those around us. And this cycle of inspiration propels the world in a positive direction. Our greatest problems will be solved by people like us, people who are more than capable of being the best versions of themselves and who have overcome adversity to improve as people. I have undoubtedly been inspired by multiple members of this community, and I know that all of you have been inspired by at least one person who we have been classmates with, teammates with, friends with, roommates with, or all of the above. I know that because there is one specific example of someone who has unquestionably served as an emblem of inspiration for all of us. Truthfully, I didn't want to mention any names because I would feel bad leaving people out, but I can't resist. I have to address this one person who is graduating here today. Family and friends of the graduates who are here may not know this person's story, but there is someone graduating today who has experienced and overcome more trauma than I would bet anyone here. When this person was younger, he was shot. He was hit with a stray bullet while walking to his car, and he unfortunately lost function in his legs for what at the time was diagnosed for the rest of his life. Many years later, in present day, that same kid stood up for prom pictures 2 weeks ago. He's been walking around campus with the help of the unbelievable nurses in the health center, and he's been making three-pointers in the gym while standing up, and he will be walking across the stage today to receive his high school diploma. That kid is someone by the name of Martrell Stevens, and he has the character, perseverance, and undying will to be the best version of himself each and every day that we all should strive to have. We all should have it, and we all can have it. I think that it is fitting that we have someone like Martrell graduating with us today. Well, we as a class have been through collective adversity and have experienced our own individual hardships. What we are about to witness today, as Martrell will walk across the stage to receive his high school diploma, shows us that we all can overcome. And while he is still dealing with these challenges, he is already an incredible success story and has surpassed any projection of what his life would have been like. Very few, if any of us, will have to go through the challenges that Martrell has had to go through. But not only is he walking today, he is also going to the University of Illinois on a full scholarship to play on one of the best wheelchair basketball teams in America, along with the fact that his grades have been superb and he has been a model citizen on this campus for 4 years. That is quite a response to something that he could not control. What happened to Martrell was not supposed to happen. COVID was not supposed to happen. A lot of the struggles that we deal with that cause us the most strife and disruption in our lives are often out of our control and not supposed to happen. But the reality of life is that people are defined by their responses to challenges. We are all going to face challenges, but all of you graduating here today are more than capable of overcoming these tribulations that the world will inevitably throw at you. You have already overcome a lot, and when you take what you have learned here, while striving to be the best versions of yourselves every day, and you are confident in who you are and you embrace your own individuality, not only will you be able to overcome difficulties, but you will be able to achieve all of the goals that you have set for yourself. You all deserve to feel proud and believe in yourselves. So go ahead and do it. Thank you all for this opportunity and for providing me with 3 years that I will definitely not forget. Best of luck to all of you. I can't wait to see what is next for us. I know you will all do great things. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And now for a few student prizes. The Trustees Prize. The Trustees Prize awarded by the faculty to any member of the school community who has served beyond the call of duty. It's hard to know where to begin an effort aimed at capturing all this young woman has poured herself into during these past 4 years. She's given all of herself to everything that has been on her plate and has been exemplary in all respects as a student, leader, citizen, and devoted member of this community. In the classroom, her teachers have described her as someone who is focused, engaged, participatory, and passionate about learning. While her grades earned her induction into the Cum Laude Society as one of the finest students in her class, her hunger to learn for the sake of learning has been the attribute most appreciated by her teachers. As a colleague noted, she displays genuine intellectual curiosity in everything she undertakes. How fortunate college professors yet to work with her will be when she lands in their classrooms. As a school prefect, she has been perpetually engaged in trying to do her part to enhance and strengthen life on campus. Her advisor noted that she always puts the needs of others above herself. She cares about how life at Brooks feels to all in the community and is never bashful about asking a challenging question or offering a contrary point of view. There is courage in her conviction. It has also been abundantly clear that she loves Brooks. Her advisor wrote that she has tackled every task before her with her usual cocktail of talent, dedication, good humor, kindness, and grace. And she even managed to resurrect paranoia this spring in a way that added an important dose of fun and levity at the end of a challenging year. With deep gratitude for all she has given to her school, I'm honored to present the Trustees Prize to Emma Rose Fleischman. The Faculty Prize. The Faculty Prize given by George C. Haas and awarded annually to a student who has made outstanding contributions to the life of the school. This young woman has led from the front since her first days at Brooks. She's been a leader of Alianza Latina, one of 3 diversity, equity, and inclusion prefects, a school prefect, a deeply trusted source of support to younger students in our BIPOC community, an important friend to many, and a prolific and extraordinary poet, among many other things. Along the way, she has given so much of herself to advancing equity and inclusion on our campus, and the impact of her work will resonate for years to come. While there are many moments and experiences to draw from when thinking about her impact at Brooks, I'd like to share 2 that are front of mind for me. The first occurred last January, pre-pandemic, and following her trip to the Student Diversity Leadership Conference in Seattle. The group of 6 students who attended that conference spoke to the Board of Trustees about the experience. All in the group were compelling, yet this young woman's voice was especially prominent and powerful, and contributed directly to the creation of a trustee-level DEI committee we formed last spring. Without her thoughtful and convincing push, we would not be as well equipped as we are to move this work forward. Second, if you were on any of the Zoom calls last summer with students, alums, and faculty members in the wake of George Floyd's murder. You would have been astounded and inspired by her courage, candor, and call for change. As our school goes forward intent on making both measurable and felt progress in our community, the work she did this year and through the years will continue to remind us that we can and must be better. She has made a difference here in a way that will hold. As she moves on certain to be a force for justice in communities she is a part of in her life, I'm honored on behalf of my colleagues to present this year's Faculty Prize to Eileen Arias. The Head of Schools Prize. The Head of Schools Prize was given in memory of George B. Case, Jr. I'm not sure when it started, but at some point fairly early in the 2017-2018 school year, I started to hear it. I'd be in the family room on the first floor of our house. It'd be almost 10 p.m., and a loud and unmistakable voice would echo through our home. "Hey, Mr. Packard," he would say as he walked by our front door, or occasionally, "I love you, Mr. Packard." Just like that, at the top of his lungs. It got to a point when I would occasionally yell back, but never as impressively as he did. Well, this is just one tiny detail in the incredibly full and impressive life this young man led through his 4 years here. I think it is emblematic of how he reached his school in ways that endeared him to so many and endeared so many to him. One colleague wrote, "He can relate to anyone in any situation and attacks each day with a relentless enthusiasm and love for his school." As this year's senior prefect, he managed to make important points in ways that reached us. His personal and powerful opening chapel talk, reflecting on his own life in the context of the racial reckoning that surfaced last summer, is one such example. He also managed to insert levity into our lives with messages like this one, introducing the school prefect video in late August, and I quote, "Honestly, I have nothing to say other than this video is straight," end quote. 4 fire emojis followed. This is one of his many gifts, the ability to both grab our attention and get us to sit up straight, and to keep it real with laughter and fun and a sense of humor that was infectious. He amazed us on stage with acting and singing performances we will long remember, and I suspect the list of students here who count him as a friend is as long as any we have ever had. We have been so fortunate to have him here through these years, and I know he is on his way to new and great things. Still, I will miss those late-night greetings and the person who added so much to his school and all of our lives for 4 years. I'm so pleased to present this year's Head of School Prize to Omalade Feishayo Mabude. Okay, time for diplomas. That's your cue, class of 2021. We practiced this, so up you go. William Joseph Abadi. Lyndon Tope Adamson. Eileen Arias. Caroline Elizabeth Ariz. Shay Tracy Baker. Raquel Chanel Baldeo. Catherine Nicole Barenbaum. Lydia Davis Barker. Michael Christian Bensavengo. Russell Urich Blodgett. These are bubbles, if people are wondering. And I think it's about our bubble, maybe? Clever. Ama Wama Apia. Alexander John Bodner. Jack Sullivan Breen. Gardner Hamilton Payson Brown. Abigail Sarah Sharlam. Che Se-yoon. Jeffrey Ryan Clements. Maren Elizabeth Cormier. Sydney Grace Correa. Alexandria Ann Costantino.
I'll take that.
Brendan Matthew Diorio. Abigail Grace Dawson. Brian Anderson Delgado. Thank you. Haley Renee Duran. Anna Patricia Edwards. Minho Yoon. Thomas Riker Ferry II.
Thank you, and congrats.
Emma Rose Fleischman. Jack William Frimmett. Caroline Holdridge Fritz. Gabriella Grace Garozzo. Kevin Philip Golden. Bridget Linnea Gorham. John Andrew Grabel II. Joseph Tucker Hill. Emma Grace Houlihan. Kendall Marie Heislip. Catherine Lindley Ingram. Emmett Barton Janney. Marielle Lindy Yole. Delia Coburn Johnson. Aruj Kamran. Timothy Paul Kelleher. Tanay Venkat Komareddy. Harriet Afra Kuma. Connor Tafe Lang. Nicole Catherine Lapierre. Tinyan Lau for the TV. Nicole Lee. Jake Duncan McKinnon. Catherine Evelyn Marcheseau. Zoe Diana Maver. Omalade Feishayo Mabude. Austin Keith Mermans. Tate Maxwell Moody. Matthew James Mulvey. Isabel Ann Murphy. Alexander Paul Natalizio. Thomas Francis O'Connell. Brianna Marie O'Neill. Jameson Beverly O'Shea. Elizabeth O'Neill Packard. Courtney Taylor Pappas. Jay Patel. Nancy Bird Perkins. Ricardo Miguel Perez Montero. Lily Ash Quinn. Emma Teresa Riley. Juliana Luz Rivera. Sasha Josephine Rizica. Belisario Andres Rosas, Jr. Daniela Mariana Rosas.
Congratulations. Well done. Good job. Good job.
Nina Catherine Beisch Rosbach. Caroline Alexandra Samaluk. Anya Harsh Sancharawala. Patrick Thomas Scott. Jason Milton Silverman. George Lawrence Smith. Martrell Stevens. Cole Andrew Sutherland. Samuel Jennings Telsey. Emma Knight Tiedemann. Meredith Grace Troop. Piao Wang. Aiden Patrick White. Tyler Alexander Whitney Sidney. Ryan Sloan Winchester. Nathaniel Connor Worth. Tristan Robert Witz. Bridget Curran Wolfel. James Gillum Wood. Cheshang Yang. Shayanayu Yang. Mingjianju Zhu. Okay, at this time, I would like to invite the Reverend James D. Chapman forward for the benediction.
Before I pronounce the benediction, I want to offer a short word to the class of 2021. A year ago, I gave this benediction virtually to a camera. So this year, it makes me extremely glad to be able to be with you here in person under this awesome tent. Because so much of this year was virtual, I haven't gotten to know all of you as much as I always hope I can. But I love you all. I love you for being who you are. I love your energy, I love your spirit, I love your smiles, I love your laughter, I love your goofy humor. And I love your hopes for the future. I want you to know that you've made this old guy's heart glad, and you've brightened my life just by being who you are. So be true to that. As we've sung so many times in chapel, seek first the kingdom of truth, or love, or God, whatever you choose to call it, and everything else will be taken care of. So God bless you all. I love you. And now, go forth into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Hold fast to that which is good. Render to no one evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the afflicted. Honor everyone. Love and serve the Spirit, always rejoicing in the Spirit's infinite power. And may the blessing of the Holy One be among you and remain with you always. Amen.
As this Prize Day ceremony comes to a close, I ask that we all stand at our seats and remain there as the class of 2021 exits down the center aisle, diplomas now in hand, with applause ringing down from all of us. Congratulations to the class of 2021.